For most of my life, I thought I knew what my purpose was. I was wrong. Not completely wrong. I wasn't living a lie or anything like that. But I had confused what I did with why I was alive. And that confusion cost me decades of peace. Decades of just being present, being here. It wasn't until I was 60 years old, standing in the ashes of everything I'd built, that I finally understood what purpose actually means. And I want to save you from making the same mistake. Because if you're watching this, chances are you're asking yourself the same question I asked for 40 years. What am I supposed to be doing with my life? Maybe you're young and you feel like you should have it figured out by now. Maybe you're middle-aged and wondering if you missed your chance. Maybe you're approaching retirement and terrified that without your job, you'll have no reason to get up in the morning. Wherever you are, listen to me. You're thinking about purpose all wrong. My name is Salvatore Benedetto, and I want to tell you what I learned. Too late, but not too late for you. Now I know you have lived a whole life full of stories that your family will forget, but would pay a fortune to remember. Which is why you need to build your legacy capsule for them to remember you. The legacy capsule is a website that gives you one simple question at a time. You record a quick video answer, and it saves everything in one private place. So years from now, your kids and grandkids can still hear your voice, see your face, and know what mattered to you. You can start your own legacy capsule by going to thelegacycapsule.com. That being said, let me take you back to 1978. I was 58 years old. I'd been running my shoe shop in Bay Ridge for 26 years. 26 years of the same routine. Open at 7, close at 6, fix shoes, talk to customers, go home, do it again. I was proud of what I'd built. I really was. The shop was my identity. When people asked who I was, I said, "I'm Sal Benedetto. I fix shoes." That was it. That was the whole answer. Then one night in November, an electrical fire started in the back room. By the time the fire department got there, everything was gone. 26 years of work. My father's tools, the ones he brought from Italy in 1928. The workbench I'd built with my own hands. The photos on the wall. The smell of leather that had seeped into every surface. Gone. All of it. I stood on the sidewalk at 3 in the morning watching the smoke rise, and I thought, this is it. I'm finished. Without the shop, who am I? That question haunted me for months because I didn't have an answer. Here's what I want you to understand. If your sense of purpose depends entirely on what you do for work, you're building on sand. Jobs end. Careers end. Companies close. Industries change. If your reason for being is wrapped up in a title or a business or a skill that can be taken away, you're one bad day away from an identity crisis. I know people don't like hearing this, especially people who've worked hard, who've built something, who take pride in their profession. I was one of those people. I am one of those people. But pride in your work is not the same as purpose. They're related, but they're not identical. And confusing them is dangerous. So here's my first piece of advice. Ask yourself this question. If you could never work again, who would you be? Not what would you do, who would you be? If you can't answer that, you've got some thinking to do. And the sooner you do it, the better. Because the fire will come eventually. Maybe not a literal fire. Maybe it's a layoff, or a health crisis, or retirement, or just the slow realization that the thing you've been chasing doesn't satisfy you the way you thought it would. When that moment comes, you need something underneath you, something that doesn't burn. After the fire, I went through a dark period. I didn't know what to do with myself. For 26 years, my days had structure. Now they were empty. I'd wake up and just sit there. No shop to open, no customers to serve, no purpose. My sister Rosa, God rest her soul, she came over one morning and found me staring at the wall. She sat down across from me and said, "Salvatore, what are you doing?" "Nothing," I said. "I have nothing to do." She looked at me with those sharp eyes of hers. Rosa could cut you with a look. And she said, "That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard you say. And you've said a lot of stupid things. The shop is gone, Rosa." "So? You think fixing shoes was your purpose? You think God put you on this earth to attach heels?" I didn't have an answer. "Your purpose," she said, "was never the shop. The shop was just where you did it." I didn't understand what she meant. Not right away. But over the next few weeks, something started to happen. People from the neighborhood began showing up at my apartment. Mrs. Chen from the laundromat brought food. Mr. O'Malley from the bar came by to check on me. The Kowalski family from down the street stopped in just to talk. And they didn't want to talk about shoes. They wanted to talk about their lives, their problems, their worries. They'd sit at my kitchen table and pour out their hearts the same way they used to in my shop. That's when I realized something. They hadn't come to my shop for the shoes. They came for me. The shoes were just the excuse. The real reason they kept coming back year after year was the conversation, the connection, the feeling that someone was listening. For 26 years, I thought my purpose was fixing shoes. But my actual purpose, the thing that made people's lives better, the thing that couldn't burn down, was showing up, listening, being present. The shop was just the container. The purpose was inside it the whole time. This is what I want you to hear. Your purpose is probably simpler than you think. We get sold this idea that purpose has to be grand. It has to be a mission, a calling, something you can put on a business card or a tombstone. He changed the world. She built an empire. They left a legacy. But most of the people I've known who actually lived with purpose, their purposes were small, quiet, invisible to anyone who wasn't paying attention. My friend Harold Washington, no relation to the mayor, he worked at the post office for 40 years, delivered mail. That's it, nothing glamorous. But Harold knew everyone on his route. He remembered birthdays. He noticed when someone hadn't picked up their mail in a few days and would knock on the door to check on them. He found a woman who'd fallen and couldn't get up. She might have died if Harold hadn't noticed her newspapers piling up. Was Harold's purpose delivering mail? No. His purpose was connection, care, paying attention. The mail was just how he did it. So here's what I want you to do. Stop looking for your purpose in your job title. Start looking for it in how you make people feel. What do you give people that they can't get anywhere else? What would be missing from the world if you weren't in it? That's your purpose. Not what you do, what you bring. After the fire, the neighborhood came together in a way I never expected. They raised money. They donated materials. They showed up with hammers and paintbrushes. Mr. O'Malley rebuilt my shelves himself. Took him 2 weekends, wouldn't accept a dime. By spring of 1979, I had a new shop, smaller than before, but mine. And something in me had shifted. I still fixed shoes. I still took pride in my work. But I understood now that the work wasn't the point. The work was the vehicle. The point was the people who came through my door, the conversations we had, the small moments of human connection that happened while I was on my knees with a shoe in my hands. I started paying more attention to those moments. I started asking more questions. I started actually listening instead of just waiting for my turn to talk. And something strange happened. I became happier. Not because anything external changed. I was still doing the same job in the same neighborhood. But because I finally understood why I was doing it. Purpose isn't a destination. It's an orientation. It's not something you find once and then you're done. It's a way of showing up every day in whatever you happen to be doing. Let me tell you about the morning question. After I understood what purpose really meant, I started asking myself the same question every morning. What made me smile yesterday? Simple question, but it changed how I saw my days. Most of the time, the answer wasn't anything big. It wasn't a major accomplishment or a milestone. It was small things. It was Mrs. Petrova's face when I fixed her late husband's shoes. Shoes she'd been keeping in a closet for 10 years because she couldn't bear to throw them away. It was a kid named Marcus who came in with his grandfather, watching me work, asking questions, actually interested in how things were made. It was the sound of rain on my shop window while I worked alone in the early morning, before anyone else arrived. Small things, ordinary things. But when I started noticing them, I realized my life was already full of purpose. I just hadn't been paying attention. So here's something I want you to try. Every morning this week, ask yourself that question. What made you smile yesterday? Don't reach for the big stuff. Don't try to remember achievements or milestones. Just notice the small moments of joy, the ones that happen and disappear before you think to appreciate them. If you can't remember any, that's important information. It means you're not paying attention. It means you're so focused on the big purpose you think you're supposed to find that you're missing the small purposes that are already there. Here's another thing I learned. Purpose changes. When I was young, my purpose was survival, getting through the depression, getting through the war, putting food on the table for my children after their mother died. In my middle years, my purpose was building the shop, my reputation, a life that felt stable after so much instability. After the fire, my purpose became connection, showing up for people, listening. And later, much later, when I met Gloria, my purpose expanded again. It became joy. Finding it, creating it, sharing it with someone I loved. Your purpose at 20 won't be your purpose at 40. Your purpose at 40 won't be your purpose at 60. This isn't failure. This isn't inconsistency. This is growth. This is paying attention to your life and letting it teach you what matters. If you're clinging to a purpose that fit you 20 years ago but doesn't fit anymore, you're not being loyal. You're being stubborn, and not the good kind of stubborn. So, here's what I want you to ask yourself. Does your current sense of purpose still fit? Or are you wearing an old coat because you're afraid to try on a new one? Let me tell you about a woman named Eleanor Fitzgerald. Eleanor was a customer of mine for 30 years. School teacher. Taught 4th grade at PS 170. Dedicated her whole life to those kids. She retired in 1985, and within 6 months, she was miserable. Sal, she told me, I don't know who I am anymore. Teaching was everything. Now I'm nothing. I understood exactly what she meant. I'd felt the same way after the fire. "Eleanor," I said, "why did you become a teacher?" She thought about it. "Because I wanted to help kids learn. I wanted to give them a good start." "And you can only do that in a classroom?" She looked at me. "You have grandchildren," I said. "You have a neighborhood full of kids. You have a brain full of knowledge and a heart full of patience. The classroom is gone, but the purpose isn't. You just need to find a new container for it." Eleanor started tutoring kids in the neighborhood for free, just a few hours a week. Within a year, she had a waiting list. She tutored until she was 83 years old. Her purpose never changed. Teaching was never her purpose. Helping kids learn was her purpose. The job was just one way to do it. I want to talk about the lie of the one big thing. Somewhere along the way, we got convinced that purpose has to be singular. One calling, one mission, one answer to the question, "Why am I here?" This is a trap. Real purpose, the kind that sustains you through decades of living, is usually a collection of small things, not one big thing. My purpose, if I had to describe it, would be something like show up, listen, make things with your hands, love people even though you'll lose them, choose joy even when it's hard. That's not one thing. That's a handful of principles that guide how I live, and they've served me better than any single calling ever could. So here's my advice. Stop looking for the one big thing. Start noticing the many small things that make your life feel worth living. Make a list if you have to. Write down everything that makes you feel alive, everything that makes you feel like yourself, everything that makes you glad you got out of bed. That list is your purpose, all of it, not one item, the whole collection. I'm 106 years old. I've had more purposes than I can count. Survival, building, parenting, work, connection, joy, love. None of them were wrong. All of them were real. They just changed as I changed. And here's what I can tell you from the other side of a very long life. Finding your purpose doesn't mean finding one answer. It means paying attention to your life and noticing what matters. It means asking yourself every day, what made you smile? What gave you energy? What made you feel like yourself? It means understanding that your job is not your purpose. It's just one container for it. And when that container breaks or changes or disappears, the purpose can survive if you know what it actually is. It means giving yourself permission to have small purposes, ordinary purposes, purposes that no one else would find impressive, but that make your days worth living. When I was 60 years old, standing in the ashes of my shop, I thought I'd lost everything. But I hadn't. I'd lost a building. The purpose was still there, waiting for me to recognize it. It had been there all along, in the conversations, in the connections, in the small moments of showing up for people. I just hadn't been paying attention. Don't make my mistake. Don't wait for the fire to figure out what actually matters. Start paying attention now, today, this morning. Your purpose is already there. You just have to notice it. Arrivederci.